Hey everyone, it's JG, and today we're talking about Nasti, the new 6-star Artificer supporter in the latest Arknights banner. Nasti is unquestionably a game-changing supporter that lets you do things that just haven't been feasible before. But is game-changing the same thing as S-rank? That's a little bit harder to evaluate. Let me break it down for you. All I'm really going to talk about today is her S3, which is the groundbreaking part of her kit. S3 lets you create high ground tiles on low ground tiles, giving you entirely new ways of deploying your ranged units. You can't place them quite everywhere. You have to place a support device facing the tile where you want to build, so there needs to be an adjacent deployable tile, and there's a bit of investment to get it built. 19 DP for Nasti, 6 DP for a support device, then wait 50 seconds for it to finish building the platform. It can be accelerated by pointing a second device at the same location, or activating Nasti's skill to a minimum of about 30 seconds after Nasti's deployment. Like other artificers, the support devices do not consume deployment slots, although they do cost DP. Since you'll have to wait a little bit for that to activate, you might be wondering about Nasti's stats while she's on the field. She's a ground unit with block 2. She's a bit tankier than a Vanguard, with decent attack stats but a slower attack interval. And when S3 is active, she gains 160% attack and defense, which ain't bad at all. Once the platform is built, you can deploy a high ground operator there. Nasti's devices will continue upgrading the platform, adding up to 3 stacks of a plus 20% HP and attack buff to the operator on it. Each upgrade takes the same amount of time as the original to achieve, so you're looking at around 2 minutes minimum to hit max power. The million-dollar question is, what does this enable? How good is it? As I already said, this is game-changing. It lets you play levels in a completely different way, but it's not really game-breaking. You still have to bring enough DPS to kill all the enemies and enough tank to outlast them. It lets you play more strategically, sort of like the levels that let you place roadblocks. You get to think about how modifying the map can provide a tactical advantage to you. It's definitely not an instant win button, but it lets you play the game in a new way. In that sense, Nasti is a very well-designed character. She makes the game more fun, not just easier. There are obviously some pairings that will work better than others here, and there are 2 ways to think about the ideal pairings. First, who benefits the most from the flexible placement, and second, who benefits the most from the attack buff. The flexible placement is huge for units who have awkward attack ranges. The one you see over and over again in demo videos is Ifrit. Her long frontal AoE attacks are awesome when they work, but while tons of levels have long hallways that the enemy walks down, a much smaller number have a ranged tile sitting at the end of that hallway. Nasti plus Ifrit lets you use Ifrit in just about any level. Throw in Silver Ash Altar to plop Ifrit down quickly, and you've got a hilarious new way to open any match. For the exact same reasons, Ray or Snowhunter or even Schwartz can find a lot more use for their long frontal range when you can control their placement. Units with compact range can also benefit from this. In my Praminix Altar review, I pointed out that an attack range centered on Praminix is a disadvantage more than a strength, because it's rare to find deployable islands with enemies on all sides. Nasti gives you a ton more flexibility to place Praminix where her range will do maximum damage. Other ranged units that sit in the middle of their attack range can also get more viable here. Units like Monster, Haruka, Suzerain, or Scotty Altar can be placed way more optimally with help from Nasti. How about that second part? Who benefits the most from an attack buff? Obviously, almost any unit will get a little better with more attack, but due to the way buff effects stack, some units will get more than others. If a unit's skill has an effect like attack increases by 100%, then Nasti can only raise that to plus 160%, which is only actually 30% more damage. But if the skill says something like deals 300% of attack as damage, then raising their base attack by 60% will add a full 60% to their output. In short, the biggest winners are the operators with the biggest attack multipliers. Praminix Altar, Ifrit, Ray, Snowhunter, and Exuziae Altar all get the max benefit here. Logos, Mantra, Lapland Altar, and Wishadel get some diminished benefits and are not the best choices. Lemoin's S3 gets the max bonus, and while her S2 doesn't grow by the full 60%, it's got one of the highest multipliers in the game, so her bullets still grow from 13,000 to 17,000 damage. That's only 30%, but wow. A few other operators have some interesting bonuses and breakpoints from the boost also. Although Logos' S1 only grows 30%, keep in mind that that increases the window on his instant kill effect. Boosting Trigodia's attack can decrease the number of attacks required to trigger a nervous impairment burst. Or boosting the base attack of a bard, like Skalter, can boost the amount of inspiration they provide to everybody in their attack range. So that about covers the reasons to like Nasti. What are the disadvantages here? Well, for one, the platform can be destroyed, taking the operator on top of it with it. Although when I tried to find maps that might kill it with splash damage or melee units, I mostly failed to do so. It's got great HP and decent defense, although it can only be healed by Nasti's devices. The operator on top is much more vulnerable than the platform itself. You also need to protect Nasti, because if she is defeated or retreated before it hits the max upgrade level, the platform goes too. The platform takes a pretty sizable investment to create and maintain. You need to spend DP, time, deployment slots, and deployable tiles, all to keep the platform created, upgraded, and alive. Boss battles are the place where the tactical flexibility might be the most valuable to you, but boss battles are also the place that's the most likely to be able to wipe either the platform or Nasti off the map, knocking out 50 plus DP of investment in one shot. The risk of such a big swing like that also means I'd put her pretty low on my draft list for integrated strategies. Keep in mind that the videos you see of hilarious Nasti clears are the highlight reels. Content creators aren't posting all the vids where they tried to use Nasti and totally failed. So where do I land on a final rating for Nasti? Supporter units are always kind of tricky to score. By their nature, supporters don't look good in the same way that other units do. You don't see vids of supporters soloing a level, because that's not what support means. And you can't really measure them in DPS, DPPS, or HPPS like with other classes to get any sort of objective assessment. Based on my scoring scale, I'm going to have to go with A rank for Nasti. A rank is where I put units that are good but situational, and that's very much what this skill is. There are levels where it works and levels where it's hard to use. And even when it works, there are also other strategies that would work, like just using ground units instead of ranged units and adjusting accordingly. If you're trying to decide whether to roll for her or not, let me offer a few other perspectives. First, keep in mind that supporter units can make good units great, but they can rarely make bad units good. If you're pretty new to the game, a great supporter will be hard to use if you don't have S-rank operators worth supporting. Even if you pull her early, she probably shouldn't be your top priority to build. I rarely add supporters to early game teams. But on the other hand, although she doesn't look insanely powerful, she does look insanely fun. She lets you play the game in a new way, and gives you new ways to deploy units that you might not use a lot. The game is about having fun, and if you think she looks fun to use, then ignore my review and play the way you want to. As far as the fun factor goes though, remember, you can always borrow her as a support unit on levels where you want to try her out. That's what I did for all the demo clips here. She'll be easy to find in support lists for at least the immediate future. Try borrowing her while the banner is open and decide whether she feels like she's worth your resources. That's all for today. Let me know in the comments if there are any key points you think I've missed. Please like and subscribe for more of my Arknights content.